This is the Daf Yomi, Zevachim, page 19a. It's the middle of an idea, so the bottom of 18b, just to lead us into this Daf, this Amud, and this Daf. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of the phrase in the verse, they shall not gird themselves with yaza? Abaye said, they shall not gird themselves at a place in which people sweat. As it is taught in a Braita, when they gird themselves with the belt, they may not gird themselves below their loins nor above their elbows. But rather, and now we're on top of 19a, Yud Tesvav Aleph, Keneged Atzile Yedehem, at the level of their elbows. Okay? Amar Ravashi, Amar Li, Huna Bar Nasan, Zimnacha Dahal Kamina Kameda, Iz Gadar, Malka, Viave Midlei, Hem Yanai, Vitetain Hele, Ave Amar Li, Memlechet Kohanim Beroi Kadosh, Ketiv Bechu. כי אתה יקמא דאמר, אמר לי, אקיים בך, והיו מלכים אומנייך. Rav Ashi says, Huna bar Natan said to me, once I was standing before Isgadar, king of Persia, and my belt was raised above its appropriate height, and he lowered it into place and said to me, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, Exodus 19 verse 6, is written about you. Therefore, you should always look dignified. When I came before Maimar and recounted this incident, he said to me, with regard to you, God's promise to Israel, and kings shall be your foster fathers. Isaiah 49:23 was fulfilled. Tinan Hasam Kohen Shilaka Betzba'o Korech Alea Gemi B'mikdash Aval Lo B'medina Lo B'medina. Oh, here's a good proof, I think, and I hope that someone will see this and remember this for dual fulfillment prophecy, which means that a prophecy can have more than one fulfillment. And of all places, Zevachim 19a, but when a Maimar said to Huna bar Natan, he quoted Isaiah 49:23. He said, all kings shall be your foster fathers. And do you really think that that's the only thing that it means? That because Isgadar, the king of Persia, raised Huna bar Natan's belt up, that was the whole thing that Isaiah 49:23 was about? No way, impossible. It's just one of many fulfillments. So a prophecy can have many fulfillments. And a Maimar, according to this Gemara, a Maimar said to him, Isaiah 49:23 was fulfilled. But I don't think anyone in the world would say that this is the only thing that Isaiah 49:23 was talking about. It was talking about Huna bar Natan's belt and Isgadar raising it up. So here's the good proof from the Talmud for dual fulfillment prophecy. Okay. Tzanan Hasam Kohen Shilaka V'etzbai Koyach Alei Agami B'mikdash Avlam B'dinam B'im Lo Hasim Edam Khan Asu. With regard to the priestly vestments, we learned in a Mishnah elsewhere, Eruvin 103b, a priest who was injured on his finger on Shabbat may temporarily wrap it with a reed so that his wound, a reed? Isn't a reed hard? How can you wrap it? Maybe a reed leaf? I don't know. a reed with his wound, so that his wound is not visible while he is serving in the temple. This leniency applies in the temple, but not in the rest of the country. As the reed also heals the wound, and medical treatment is prohibited on Shabbat by rabbinic decree, but if his intention is to draw blood from the wound, it's prohibited both here and there. Amar Yehuda b'rei Rachia, lo yishon gemi, avol tziltzol katan, aviyitu bigodim. V'Rav Yochanan amar, lo yamu yitu bigodim, ela bimkom bigodim. Avol shlo bimkom bigodim, lo have yitu. Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Rabbi Chia, says they taught only that a reed is permitted, but a small sash as a bandage is considered an extra garment and is therefore forbidden, since it is prohibited for a priest to add to the priestly vestments prescribed by the Torah. And Rabbi Yochanan says they said that wearing extra garments is prohibited only if the extra garment is worn in a place on the priest's body where the requisite vestments are worn. But if the sash is in a place on his body where the vestments are not worn, for example on his hand, it is not considered an extra garment. V'tepokle mishum chatzitza v'ismol inami shelo mimkom avodah. The Gemara challenges and let Rabbi Yochanan derive that a sash is prohibited because it acts as an interposition between the priest's hand and the sacred vessel he grips, which disqualifies the service. The Gemara rejects this. Rabbi Yochanan is referring to a case where the wound is on the priest's left hand, since the entire service is performed exclusively with his right hand. A bandage on his left hand is not an interposition. Alternatively, the wound is on the priest's right hand, but not in a place used for the service, such that the bandage does not interpose between his hand and the sacred vessel. Upliga de Rabbe, di Amar Chizda. Bimkom begadim afilu nima achas choitzetzes shelo bimkom begadim shalosh al shalosh chotzetzot pachot mikan eno chatzotzot. And Rabbi Yochanan disagrees with the opinion of Rava, as Rava says. Fly here. Oh, I got it. Pachot mikan nechatzotzot. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees with the opinion of Rava, as Rava says, or Chizda says, in a place in the priest's body where the vestments are worn, even one extra thread interposes and is prohibited, whereas in a place on his body where the vestments are not worn, if the fabric is 3 finger breadths by 3 finger breadths, it interposes, but if it is less than that, it does not interpose. Okay. The Gemara notes, Rava certainly disagrees with the opinion of Yochanan, who holds that fabric of any size that is in a place on his body where the vestments are not worn is not considered an interposition. Shall we say that he also disagrees with the opinion of Yehuda, the son of Rabbi Chia, who deems any sash in interposition, even one smaller than 3 by 3 finger breadths? Shani tzil tzol katan dechashi. He responds, even according to Rava, a small sash is different, as it is significant, and it is therefore considered a garment even if it is less than 3 by 3 finger breadths. Just a brief break. Finger breadths. וישלח מינם אליו, רבי יהודה ברי רבי חייא, לא ישאל אלו גמי, אבל צילצו קטן חוצץ, ורבי יוחנן אמר לו אמרו חציץ, מפחד בשלוש על שלוש, אלא במקום בגודים, אבל שלא במקום בגודים, שלוש על שלוש חצוץ, מפחד מכאן, אין חצצס, והיינו דרבה אמר רבי חייא. Some say that there's another version of the dispute. Rabbi Yehuda, son of Rabbi Chia, say that they taught only that a reed is permitted, but a small sash interposes. And Rabbi Yochanan says, they said that an item acts as an interposition when it is less than 3 by 3 finger breadths, only in a place on the priest's body where the vestments are worn, but in a place on his body where the vestments are not worn. The following distinction applies. If the fabric is 3 finger breadths by 3 finger breadths, it interposes. But if it is less than this, it does not interpose. And this is the same ruling that Rava says that Rav Chisda says. Lema plige ad Rabbi Yehuda b'rei Rav Chia shani tzilzul katan dechashiv. The Gemara suggests, let us say that Rava disagrees with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Rav Chia, who deems any sash an interposition, even when smaller than 3 finger breadths by 3 finger breadths. The Gemara rejects this. This is not necessarily so, as a small sash is different, since it is significant. It is therefore like a vestment, even if it is smaller than 3 finger breadths by 3 finger breadths. The Gemara raises a question, and according to the opinion of Yochanan, why does the Mishnah teach the halacha specifically with regard to a reed? Let the Mishnah teach that a priest may wrap his wounded finger with a small sash, since this would teach the greater novelty that although a sash is significant, it does not constitute an interposition. The Gemara responds, it teaches us a matter in passing that a reed heals. Rava raises a dilemma. If a gust of wind entered the priest's vestment, raising it slightly off his body, what's the halacha? Do we require that the vestment be upon his body, Leviticus 6:3, in a literal sense? And this is not the case when the wind raises the vestment, or perhaps the service is valid because this is the normal manner of wearing clothes. Kina mahu shetachotz. Furthermore, what is the halacha? Well, let's see here. Okay. Furthermore, what is the halacha with regard to a louse found under the priest's vestments? Does it interpose between the vestments and the body, disqualifying the service? In brackets, Revisahi velo chayata odilma keven kapitala chayatsa. The Gemara clarifies, do not raise a dilemma with regard to a dead louse, as it certainly interposes, like any other item. Rather, what is the halacha with regard to a live louse? Do we say that since it comes and goes, it moves around on his body, it is like a growth and does not interpose? Or perhaps a growth doesn't move? I don't get that one. Okay. It's like a growth and does not interpose, or perhaps since he objects to its presence, it interposes. Afar ma'u shiachotz. Afar v'adeh chayetz, ela avak afar ma'u. Furthermore, what is the halacha with regard to dirt found under the priest's vestments? Does it interpose? The Gemara objects, but dirt certainly interposes. The Gemara clarifies, rather, the question is, what is the halacha with regard to dust of dirt? And a minute amount of dust. Beis HaShechi ma'u shechotz. Furthermore, what is the halacha with regard to the gap between the underarm of the vestment and the priest's armpit? Does it interpose? Do we require that the vestment is upon his body in a literal sense, and this is not the case? Or perhaps the service is valid since this is the normal manner of wearing clothes? Furthermore, if the priest inserted his hand into his vestments and touched his chest, what is the halacha? Does his body interpose or not? Furthermore, what is the halacha with regard to a thread? Does it interpose? The Gemara interjects, but the thread certainly interposes. Rather, the question is, what is the halacha with regard to a thread that hangs off the vestment itself and will soon fall off? And is such a thread considered as though it has already detached from the vestment, in which case it interposes? Ramar Ravashi raises his dilemma. If his hair emerged from his head and extended into his vestment and separated it from his skin, what's the halacha? Is his hair considered like his body, in which case it does not interpose, or is it not considered like his body? Yom Nami Chayatsi Ki Tibaylach Lemandam Alayla Zvan Tfilin Mai Mitzvah Diguf Chayatz O Lo Chayatz. Rabbi Zera raises a dilemma. What is the halacha with regard to phylacteries, tefillin? Do they interpose? The Gemara clarifies according to the opinion of one who says that night is not an appropriate time to don phylacteries. Do not raise the dilemma since they interpose at night. They also interpose during the day. Rather, when you raise the dilemma, so according to the one who says that night is an appropriate time to don phylacteries, according to this opinion, what is the halacha? Does a mitzvah that one fulfills with his body interpose, or does it not interpose? Rabbi Ami Amarle Talmud Aruch Hu B'Yedenu Tefillin Chatzotot. This matter circulated and eventually came before Ami, who said to him, "It is a settled tradition in our possession that phylacteries interpose." Okay, phylacteries, but what about all the other questions? Okay. Meisi Kwanim B'Avodas Navim B'Duchanan Yisrael B'Amad B'Turim B'La Tefila U'Mina Tefillin Mai Lav Im Anichan O Eno Chatzotzot La Im Enichan Chatzotzot. The Gemara raises an objection from brides of priests in their service and Levites on their platform in the temple, where they recite songs, and Israelites at their watches, where they observe the sacrifice and the daily offering, are all exempt from prayer and from donning phylacteries. What is it not for that the term exempt indicates that if they don phylacteries anyway, do they not interpose? Apparently, priests may wear phylacteries while performing temple service. The Gemara responds, no. If they don phylacteries, they do interpose. Given the Ikar Leviim Israel, the Gemara asks, if so, why does the Bride use the word exempt? It should have used the word prohibited, since wearing phylacteries disqualifies the priest's service. The Gemara responds, since there are also Levites and Israelites mentioned in the Braita, concerning whom the Braita could not teach the word prohibited, as it is permitted for them to don phylacteries. Due to that reason, the Braita taught the word exempt, which is applicable to all. Via Tanya. The Gemara challenges, but isn't it taught in Braita if a priest donned phylacteries, they do not interpose? The Gemara responds, this is not difficult. This Braita, which teaches that phylacteries impose, is referring to phylacteries on the hand, whereas that Braita, which teaches that they do not, is referring to phylacteries of the head. ושלא יהי דבר חויצס בינו לבשרו דראש נמי כסיב ושמתם אצלם בשר ראשו. The Gemara asks, what is different about phylacteries of the hand that only they interpose? The verse indicates the difference, as it is written with regard to the vestments covering the body. Shall he put them on his body? Leviticus 6:3, indicating that nothing will interpose between the vestment and his body. The Gemara challenges, but there is also a verse with regard to the head, and you shall set the mitre upon his head, Exodus 29 verse 6, indicating that there must be no interposition between the mitre and the head. If so, the phylacteries of the head should be considered an interposition as well. Tanam, we learn, the Gemara responds, the sages taught, the hair of the high priest was visible between the front plate and the mitre. The front plate was set on the forehead below the hairline, while the mitre was set above it. Okay, that's 19a. I think we'll stop here for a brief intermission, a brief interlude, and return after the break.